better and better at both trying to work in a comfortable way with Republicans and figure out ways to put pressure on his Republican colleagues.
How do you think he's doing with that, Governor?
I think he's doing better and better. I think he deserves more credit than he gets in the press.
Very interesting. Good to hear from you this morning, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Sandra. Have a nice day.
We are waiting a major announcement from the EPA Director Scott Pruitt, supposed to speak any moment now. We'll have that for you when it begins from Coal Country. Plus, investigators uncover a new plot to attack Times Square, the heart of New York City. What the suspected terrorists were planning in a moment. Next here.
Hi, I'm Ty Young. What if there was an investment strategy where your money was completely protected against market losses? You would go up with the stock market, your gains lock in, and when the market goes down, you don't lose anything. Literally, you go up with your money, never down, forwards and never backwards. What if that investment strategy actually existed? Good news, it does. Get your investor's kit and I'll personally explain on the DVD how it works. You decide if it's right for you.
Get your investor's kit. Call 800-557-7379 or tyjyoung.net.
When you have type 2 diabetes, you manage your A1C, but you also have a higher risk of heart attack or stroke. Non-insulin Victoza lowers A1C and now reduces cardiovascular risk.
Victoza lowers my A1C and blood sugar better than the leading branded pill.
And for people with type 2 diabetes treating cardiovascular disease, Victoza is now approved to lower the risk of major cardiovascular events such as heart attack, stroke, or death.
And while it isn't for weight loss, Victoza may help you lose some weight.
Victoza is not for people with type 1 diabetes or diabetic ketoacidosis. Do not take Victoza if you have a personal or family history of medullary thyroid cancer, multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, or if you are allergic to Victoza or any of its ingredients. Stop taking Victoza and get medical help right away if you get symptoms of a serious allergic reaction such as rash, swelling, difficulty breathing or swallowing. Serious side effects may happen, including pancreatitis. So stop taking Victoza and call your doctor right away if you have severe pain in your stomach area. Tell your doctor your medical history. Gallbladder problems have happened in some people. Tell your doctor right away if you get symptoms. Taking Victoza with the sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar. Common side effects are nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, decreased appetite, indigestion, and constipation. Side effects can lead to dehydration, which may cause kidney problems.
Ask your doctor about Victoza.
Laura Bush, a powerful interview. The former First Lady details her new initiatives and hopes for the country. Live from the Bush Library in Texas. Tomorrow on the Daily Briefing with Dana Perino.
Duncan just protected his family with a $500,000 life insurance policy. How much do you think it cost him? $100 a month? $75? $50? Actually, Duncan got his $500,000 for under $28 a month. Less than $1 a day. His secret? SelectQuote. In just minutes, a SelectQuote agent will comparison shop nearly a dozen highly rated life insurance companies and give you a choice of your 5 best rates. Duncan's wife, Cassie, got a $750,000 policy for under $21 a month. Give your family the security it needs at a price you can afford. Since 1985, SelectQuote has saved over 1 million families millions of dollars on life insurance. Call now. 800-304-5039 or visit SelectQuote.com. Discover what over 1 million families know now. We shop, you save.
ISIS fighters, they pledged to fight to the death, but the facts in Iraq suggest otherwise. More than 1,000 ISIS fighters surrendering in Iraq as Iraqi forces continue to regain control of key areas in the north. Buck Sexton, former officer of the CIA, with me now in studio. And Buck, good morning to you.
Good to see you.
Headline New York Times, ISIS fighters having pledged to fight or die surrender en masse. What does that tell us?
You have two things going on right now with the Islamic State. One is the series of military defeats that they are suffering on the ground, the most notable one being the loss of Mosul, which was the largest city that they took. And that was also the moment in ISIS's campaign where the world really took notice. And quite honestly, we were worried that they were going to continue on with the campaign of conquest. Losing Mosul is huge militarily. It's also huge psychologically. And so the Islamic State as an idea, as well as a military organization, has had its back broken.
This has been rolled up so quickly. I don't know if the time was right or whether or not this could have been taken care of 2 or 3 years ago. What do you think about that now?
There's certainly a momentum to the anti-ISIS campaign. You've had an increase in airstrikes under the Trump administration that have been very effective in trying to help with the allies we work with on the ground, whether the Iraqi government or some of the Kurdish militias in Syria. And once you take away some of the key nodes of control from the Islamic State, then it's harder for them to resupply. Then they're on the defensive. And I should also note that it's harder for them to get recruits from abroad. We've been shutting off the entryways, the areas where they're able to actually draw people from all over the world. Those have been shut off. And also, there are fewer people that are going to join the Islamic State. People don't want to be the last suicide bomber for a dying idea.
Yeah, it just strikes me that we went on offense. And is that a credit to this administration? And is that a reflection of the previous administration? As you look at the past 5 or 6 years, what do you think about that?
The Trump administration certainly accelerated the anti-ISIS campaign based on a comparison with what the Obama administration had been doing beforehand. I think President Obama, in the last 12 to 18 months of his administration, really did put in place some of the pieces that were necessary for this. And to be fair, I think we have to call that out. I do think that Trump has pushed it faster. And by doing that, not only has he put more pressure on the Islamic State, but of course, by defeating these jihadist psychopaths more quickly, you're also more likely to save lives and prevent more casualties.
2 more points on this. They made a claim about Las Vegas, and that claim has not panned out. If it does not pan out, what does that tell you about what they're trying to convey?
I think that
their own state.
I think that shows us. There have been a few times in the past where the Islamic State has said that they were responsible for attack and they were not. Why would they claim Vegas? Because
a few times, though.
Only a
few.
They've made
2
claims,
or
3, something along those lines.
But up until then, many of those claims that we thought were just specious turned out to be.
That's right. They actually surprised people by claiming things that it turned out were in fact ISIS inspired, not necessarily ISIS directed. In the case of Las Vegas, what it seems is that based on the losses of territory they are suffering on the ground, and also the psychological trauma to the Islamic State, which also includes, by the way, all these people who are surrendering, they're looking for relevance, they're looking for attention, and so sacrificing their credibility by claiming this attack in Las Vegas might be a sign of the desperation they have for relevance as part of the global jihad.
Do not suggest that this group is buried and done with yet. There's a case in New York City about a terror plot in Times Square. What's come of that?
This is one of the more classic terror plots in terms of how it was disrupted, and also some of the target sets that we've seen when you're talking about radical Islamic terror. You have a few individuals who are working together. They were a would-be cell, and they were trying to attack either concert venues, Times Square, New York City subways. These are all places that in the past have either been specifically targeted or certainly come up in some of the plots from at home and abroad. It looks like these individuals were a little sloppy in how they talk to each other. The moment you have a cell, as we saw the opposite of this in Las Vegas, the moment you have multiple individuals, communications getting a little messy with their operational security, they were penetrated. It also seems that there was an FBI informant involved here, and so we were able to stop this. An important note is that I think when we look at the threat of terrorism, it's often overlooked how many mass casualty attacks are averted, and so we don't pay as much attention to them. But when you look at the vast apparatus and resources we have in the counterterrorism realm, it is primarily used for this purpose, and we do a good job with it, but it's always a threat.
It's terrific analysis. Thank you, Buck. Buck Sexton, thank you for coming back here. All right, Sandra, what's next?
Several raging wildfires tearing through California wine country, torching homes and forcing evacuations. Where the firefight stands now.
Also, that Vegas massacre, the killer leaving behind a mysterious note, and now we know the details of what was on that note.
Stacks and stacks of magazines everywhere.
I could smell the gunpowder that had went off in the room, so we were tripping over guns, tripping over long guns inside.
When you're close to the people you love, does psoriasis ever get in the way of a touching moment? If you have moderate to severe psoriasis, you can embrace the chance of completely clear skin with Taltz. Taltz is proven to give you a chance at completely clear skin. With Taltz, up to 90% of patients had a significant improvement of their psoriasis plaques. In fact, 4 out of 10 even achieved completely clear skin. Do not use if you are allergic to Taltz. Before starting, you should be checked for tuberculosis. Taltz may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Tell your doctor if you are being treated for an infection or have symptoms, or if you have received a vaccine or plan to. Inflammatory bowel disease can happen with Taltz, including worsening of symptoms. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Now's your chance at completely clear skin. Just ask your doctor about Taltz.
Test drive the new 2018 Acura TLX with precision all-wheel steer.
Yeah. I know you can feel the movement.
Lease the 2018 Acura TLX for $309 a month for well-qualified customers. Visit your Acura dealer today.
Let's take a look at some numbers. 4 out of 5 people who have a stroke, their first symptom is a stroke. 80% of all strokes and heart disease, preventable. And $149 is all it takes to get screened and help take control of your health. We're Lifeline Screening. And if you're over 50, call this number to schedule an appointment for 5 painless screenings that go beyond regular checkups. We use ultrasound technology to literally look inside your arteries for plaque, which builds up as you age and increases your risk for stroke and cardiovascular disease. And by getting them through this package, you're saving over 50%. So call today and consider these numbers. For just $149, you'll receive 5 screenings that could reveal what your body isn't telling you.
And I'm going to tell you that's the best $150 I've ever spent in my life.
Lifeline Screening. The power of prevention. Call now to learn more.
I'm Master Chief Jim Hurt. One of the things that you can always count on when you're in uniform is that there's someone there that's got your back. New Day USA wants to be that team that has your back, that can help you through difficult times, help you consolidate debts, and put a little money in the bank. New Day USA can be that trusted agent for every veteran out there that's needing their help.
Call 1-855-487-7744.
10:32 here in New York, 7:32 in Las Vegas, a full week after the Las Vegas massacre. The killer's motives still remain a mystery, and now the casino tycoon Steve Wynn speaking out with Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday, saying he started beefing up security last year because the city, in his view, was such a soft target.
I got every consultant and advisor I can think of to come through, from Ray Kelly to people from SEALs Team 6. We had to cover every exit and every aspect of the building to see if we could identify and preempt any kind of terroristic or violent action.
David Shepard's former FBI special agent, former executive director of security for the Venetian Resort Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. And, sir, thank you for your time and coming back here today. That Steve Wynn interview with Chris Wallace was fascinating. I just want you to react to a number of things he said. Like that, for example, Ray Kelly, former police commissioner in New York, SEAL Team 6, rather. What was he seeing and what was he planning for, do you believe then?
Well, what you're looking at is trying to identify a person prior to going in. You're trying to look for their actions, their particular body movements, facial expressions, any behavior type characteristics that will kind of give them away and try to stop them before they ever got inside the particular, this time it was Wynn Resort.
Here's another comment, and this goes to the profile, whether or not there are any signals or signs, because the killer had been in his casino often. He said the following about that question. Watch this.
The most vanilla profile one could possibly imagine. A modest gambler, at least by our standards, nothing serious, paid promptly, never owed any money anywhere in Las Vegas. He didn't fit the profile of a problem or a compulsive gambler.
You know, the other thing he said, there's a man who behaved rationally, yet he prepared, and over an extended period of time, a totally irrational act. You've taught courses on this stuff. What did you think of his commentary there?
What's the difference between a person that is a saboteur and somebody that's a spy? They act different. They move different. They think different. And when you're trying to find one particular person that's done the action, as opposed to somebody planning, may not going to do that particular time. Even on this particular shooting we had here, he also looked in Chicago, also looked at Boston. What made it here? Well, one example is the fact that he couldn't take his guns, the 23 guns. He had to take and drive to go up there. He stayed here. But the actions don't always give it away. You have to figure out exactly what they're doing as much as possible. That's why you listen to other people. Most of the time, 81% of the time, they tell somebody else. He didn't tell anybody else. He's pretty much by himself. He's a loner. So what's their actions as somebody as a loner? You don't say a whole lot of anything. You don't give a whole lot of it away. He planned by buying drills. He planned by the ammunition. And it just took him time to do it.
Yeah, there was another comment from Steve Wynn. It's never perfect, of course, but what you can do, he said, is to use the local vernacular, you can change the odds. And that's what he sought to do for the people who stay at his own hotel. Now, on 60 Minutes last night, you had the police officers and the security guards who were the first to enter the room. Here was just a small clip of what they observed when they went inside.
I did notice a note on the nightstand near his shooting platform. I could see on it he had written the distance, the elevation he was on, the drop of what his bullet was going to be for the crowd. So he had that written down and figured out, so he would know where to shoot to hit his targets from there.
Sir, you have written books on these type of killers. And what do you think of what you heard on 60 Minutes?
Well, you're looking at somebody that planned a lot. Did a lot of them plan? Yes, a lot of them plan. Does he act alone? They act alone. That's what most of them do. 98% of them act alone. And what you're looking at here, he is planning, he's going through it more than anybody I've seen in all the cases I've looked at, all the shootings that I've reviewed. He has planned more than anybody under that condition. Does he do that? I was on SWAT teams with the FBI for 20 years. We did a lot of entries in programs. The first time we had to worry about anything that happened at that time, but he has the documents there to show he's already looked at it. Where did he train? How did he end up doing? How much he shot? He sit there and had 1,600 rounds. Would that spurn somebody in a gun store to do that? He might be able to shoot that in a week. He had the money to take and buy. Of all the shooters I've seen before, he's the only one that I know of as a multi-millionaire that is not restricted by money to go ahead and finish off his plot.
Just one last question, and I don't know how you'll answer this, but the security guard who was shot through the door, apparently it's now believed that once he shot through the door and hit that security guard in the leg, there was no more shooting that was carried out on the crowd below. Why would that be if he thought he had isolated a threat on the outside of his own door?
Well, he isolated the threat that way, and I totally believe that he, the officer, stopped and prevented other shooting down under the people below. His attentions were now focused. He had cameras to look in the hall. He now is expecting that it's going to have a full upfront attack, of the officers coming in, whether it be a SWAT team or the MACTAC group, whatever is coming in. His attention has now been turned towards that. Does that eliminate him from possibly escaping? 10% try to escape. 10% actually walk off. That's what he had now. The officer there, Mandalay Bay, saved a lot of people.
No question. David Shepard, thank you for your time today. Appreciate your expertise on all of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fox News alert, Scott Pruitt, EPA administrator, taking to the podium now, an announcement coming on an Obama-era policy, rolling back the Clean Power Plan. We're waiting for any sort of announcement to come from the EPA administrator on that. I believe he has begun speaking. Let's listen.
I really appreciate the leadership of Leader McConnell. He talked about his most consequential decision being his decision not to move until after the election with respect to the U.S. Supreme Court. And I can only tell you, the dividend that's going to pay for years and years into the future because of the strong, savvy leadership of Leader McConnell. Thank you again, Leader McConnell, for being such a great leader of this Commonwealth. And it's good to be in Kentucky. As he indicated, I'm from this wonderful Commonwealth and was actually a baseball player at Kentucky. Sometimes the mistake is made when I'm introduced that I played basketball at the University of Kentucky, and then I stand up. And folks see that that couldn't be the case. But it is good to be back home in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. You know, I've made a habit over these last several months of perhaps going to places my predecessor didn't go. A few months ago, actually in April, I was in western Pennsylvania. First time that an administrator had gone underground at a coal mine in western Pennsylvania or anywhere in the country. I went 1,000 feet down and 3 miles in. And as I spent time on that long wall mine with about 30 to 40 miners, I looked at them and said, the president has a message for you. Here's the president's message. The war on coal is over. And there was great exuberance, great applause. You know what's exciting about that is that video. When we got back to Washington, D.C., guess where we put it? We didn't put it on the shelf. We put it on the website of the EPA. Those miners there in western Pennsylvania, emotional with respect to that message from the president. And as I'm here today, your senator promised that the EPA would come back and spend time here in eastern Kentucky. And I'm excited to be with you here today because it's not just to visit about all the things that we're doing, which is, I think, very, very important for this country, but I'm here to make an announcement that's very, very important for you. Tomorrow in Washington, D.C., I'll be signing a proposed rule to withdraw the so-called Clean Power Plan of the past administration and thus begin the effort to withdraw that rule. The president sent a message. Thank you. It's good for eastern Kentucky to hear that, right? No better place to make that announcement than in Hazard, Kentucky. And I'll tell you, when you think about what that rule meant, that rule really was about picking winners and losers. You know, regulatory power should not be used by any regulatory body to pick winners and losers. The past administration was unapologetic. They were using every bit of power, every bit of authority to use the EPA to pick winners and losers and how we generate electricity in this country. And that's wrong. What we ought to be about as an agency, and this is not the most profound statement you may hear this year, but regulations ought to make things regular. They ought to work with folks all over the country and say, how do we achieve better outcomes by working with industry, not against industry? There are bad actors out there for sure. But it's not a premise or an option that we start with that all industry cannot or doesn't want to work with the EPA in achieving good outcomes. You know, as we do our business at the agency now, as the leader indicated, we're getting back to the basics. And when you think about getting back to the basics, the first thing we're starting with is doing our work consistent with rule of law. You know, it's Congress, it's Leader McConnell, it's the U.S. House of Representatives. It's Congress that passes legislation that gives us direction, that gives us our orders as far as how we administer those statutes, gives us the parameters. The last administration just simply made it up. When you think about the Clean Power Plan, it was not about regulating to make things regular. It was truly about regulating to pick winners and losers, and they really interpreted that best system of emission reduction as generating electricity in ways that they didn't want to use fossil fuels, so they used authority to do otherwise. And that's not consistent with the statute. Rule of law matters, because rule of law is something that allows you and industry to know what's expected of you. When you have a regulation passed that's inconsistent with the statute, it creates confusion. It creates uncertainty. And that's what happened with the past administration. So we're getting back to the basics of focusing on rule of law and acting on the authority that Congress has given us. But I'll tell you what else we're doing.
You have been listening to the EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt saying the war on coal is over. This announcement was expected, but it is official now. The administration announcing they are withdrawing from the Clean Power Plan starting tomorrow. He says we should not be in the business of picking winners and losers. A major announcement and follow through on a campaign promise by the president to bring jobs back to the coal industry. So a very key announcement and the rolling back and repealing of an Obama-era policy. That was the Clean Power Plan. So that officially beginning tomorrow. Big news as far as more repealing of Obama-era policies from the Trump administration. Scott Pruitt, the war on coal is over. All right, Sean Duffy, Congressman Sean Duffy joins us now. Congressman, you've been listening to this. This is huge news, something the president promised and certainly a scene that he is following through on.
Listen, I don't know if there's a symphony playing behind Scott Pruitt, but it's music to my ears for sure. I mean, not only is this a big deal, Sandra, to coal country, that's important, but also it's important to places like Wisconsin. We're a coal-reliant state. So if this plan was implemented, our costs for our poorer families would go up by 30% a year. Our great manufacturers, they would see $100,000 plus increases in their energy costs. So this is important not just for coal country, but for jobs all across America and places like Wisconsin as well. We're the frozen tundra up here. We use a lot of electricity, so right. This is big for job growth and for opportunities for all of our citizens in our great state.
So clearly you're a big fan of this move, but how does this go over with Democrats?
Listen, they're not going to like it, but as Scott Pruitt pointed out, the direction should come from Congress. These laws should come from Congress, and Democrats like to have agencies and bureaucrats make rules and regulations that the Congress would never pass because of its negative impact on the American people and on jobs. And so this administration understands that there's a role for the Congress as we do big things, and that rollback, I think, will make Democrats incredibly angry. This is a fight, but when you live by the sword, you die by the sword, or if you live by rules and regulations, you die by rules and regulations as well. And so when the Trump administration wins and they roll this back, the American people win as well. So I think this is a good day for jobs and lower energy costs throughout our country.
Right here on the Fox News channel, Scott Pruitt was asked about the health consequences of doing away with the Clean Power Plan, Congressman. It was seen that he sort of ducked that question and moved on to how this plan would create jobs and bring jobs back to the coal industry. How do you expect Scott Pruitt, the EPA, and this administration to continue to answer that question?
Well, listen, I think at the EPA and in Congress, we have to look for good policies that can allow us to use less carbon emitting sources. But this was so aggressive. I mean, a 30% reduction by 2030. It was really hard to meet that target. So that doesn't mean we can't use common sense to make sure we're using, good renewable energy sources. But I look at the folks that are working in Kentucky and in West Virginia and in Pennsylvania in our mines. They want these jobs. They want to be able to go into these mines and support their families. And so who is a liberal bureaucrat who makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year say, these guys that mine can't have these jobs, and I'm more concerned about their health as I live in San Francisco than they are about supporting their families with a good paying job. I mean, I just think this is a liberal overreach, again, saying we know what's best for you in Middle America, instead of looking at Middle America and these families saying, hey, listen, we're gonna look out for our families and our own jobs. Leave us alone. We don't buy into the progressive latte sipping liberals on our coast. And I think, again, in Wisconsin, we're rural. You spend a lot of energy and a lot of money to put electricity into your home. This is great music to our ears, Sandra. I applaud the EPA administrator today.
And that's how he described a bureaucratic overreach. Scott Pruitt just announcing the withdrawal of the Clean Power Plan, live from Hazard, Kentucky. Thank you so much for coming on, Congressman. Good to see you.
Hey, thanks, Sandra.
Breaking news there and breaking news here as well. Thousands forced to evacuate overnight in California's wine country. Napa Valley now, where several massive fires burn out of control there. Check this out.
Around my house, there's so many trees, so many oaks, and it just seemed to be flipping those trees around, and I thought, really, that fire can go any way. Forestry is just down a street and around the corner from us, so I'm just hoping that if it does come down as low as our house, that forestry will be able to go up there and hopefully save our homes.
Things seem to change extensively overnight. William Longinus live in L.A. on this now. Where is the trouble this morning, William?
Well, it's all over, Bill, and the problem is this isn't one fire, it's several, and it's not size, but location. The flames are ripping through a thicket of homes and wineries. Up to 50-mile-an-hour gusts are making containment impossible. Right now, it is about saving lives and evacuating as many as possible.
I drew my blinds, and I just saw flames all up on the hill behind my house. So, of course, I panicked. I'm still shaking. Went out, and they were screaming, fire, 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 get out, get out.
Sonoma and Napa are America's wine country. This fire is destroying age-old vineyards where land costs up to $1 million an acre. Vineyards and wineries along the Silverado Trail are burning. First responders took some residents out by helicopter because roads were in flames, even closing Highway 101 near Santa Rosa, forcing police to evacuate 2 hospitals.
Our number one priority still is to get people out of the area safely. Evacuations are kind of number one at the moment, and if people feel like they need to leave, we ask that they leave. If they get ordered to leave, we tell them it's not a time to think about it. It's time to go.
So these fires started just 10 hours ago. Cause unknown, 3 major fires, several smaller ones. That is odd and suspicious, Bill. And it is not just wind-driven embers. Investigation underway.
Very interesting there, William. Thank you. Stay on it. We will hear. Thanks, William Lajeunesse. It is Columbus Day, a day to celebrate. Depends on where you live. So what's so controversial about Christopher Columbus? That story is next.
I know with the state of America and the state of kneeling and things like that and statues, I know it's a big controversy. It is important for my daughter especially to know the history, both good, bad, and indifferent.
When our country used to flex its muscle with battleships like the USS Iowa, the world would listen. It's time we return to the America I remember. Hi, I'm William Devane. There are dangerous forces everywhere pulling our country apart, threatening our economy and our way of life. That's why I'm going to do 2 things: support our military and buy gold from Roslyn Capital. I've never felt safe relying on paper money to protect my assets. That's why I buy gold from Roslyn. With Roslyn, what you order is what you get. No gimmicks, no nonsense, no hassle. We're all safer with our ships patrolling the seas. And my assets are a whole lot safer with gold from Roslyn Capital. So ask yourself, are you safe?
Call now to get your free gold, silver, and IRA kits. Call 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900.
The NFL, the anthem, the disrespect. Congressman Matt Gaetz knows how to end it. Now, he lays out every detail of his plan on Tucker Carlson Tonight.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
What if you could lose fat in just a few hours?
I don't know what to say. I'm just in shock.
You can with Sono Bello.
It seems no matter how much you work out or diet, there are parts of your body that just don't seem to change.
I went to the gym, I worked out at home, I bought videos. No matter what I did, that bulge was still there.
With its advanced micro-laser technology,
Sono Bello gently removes that targeted fat and shapes your body for life-changing results.
As America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist, Sono Bello has performed over 100,000 personalized body and facial procedures, helping tens of thousands of people change their lives.
After 5 years trying to get rid of that roll of fat, Sono Bello did it in 1 day.
Call for your free no-obligation consultation today and get $250 off your Sono Bello body.
Payment plans are available.
Call 888-317-1425 or go to sonobello.com.
Ready, Daddy?
Thank you, VSP.
Lost your vision coverage? Enroll today in an affordable individual vision plan direct from VSP.
Look, Grandpa.
Wow, what a monster.
No, it's you.
Thank you, VSP.
Lost your vision coverage? Enroll today in an affordable individual vision plan direct from VSP.
This is all of us.
Not again. I'm always in the bunker. Oh, thank you, VSP.
Lost your vision coverage? Enroll today in an affordable individual vision plan direct from VSP. Wow, thank you, VSP. Lost your vision coverage? Enroll today in an affordable individual vision plan direct from VSP.
I'm John Scott. Vice President Pence walks out of an NFL game after some players took a knee. Critics call it a stunt. Our media panel weighs in. Plus, dealing with Korea's nuclear threat. Is President Trump signaling military action? 6 minutes away. Happening now.
John, thanks. See you then, top of the hour. Protests in New York City on Columbus Day celebrations. Los Angeles changed this day to Indigenous Peoples Day. But meanwhile, many cities continue on with their celebration of the explorer's legacy, and Doug McElway is watching all that live in Washington, D.C. Doug, what's the beef?
Well, Bill, we're at Columbus Circle, just outside of Union Station, where the Columbus Day ceremony is prepared to get underway. So far, this particular memorial has not been defaced or vandalized in any way. That is not the case in Chicago, Illinois, where over the weekend, 30-year-old Kyle Meskel was arrested and charged with criminal damage for defacing a cast iron statue of Christopher Columbus. In other cities, Baltimore, Queens, New York, also in Central Park, memorials have been vandalized. In New York's Columbus Circle, the Columbus statue there has been under 24-hour police guard. Mayor de Blasio earlier this fall ordering a commission to develop guidelines on how to address monuments that are seen as, quote, oppressive. Columbus Day in 4 states and 55 cities is now being celebrated as Indigenous Peoples Day. For many, it all speaks of revisionist history.
History is always being revised. I prefer the word correction. What's called revisionism sometimes is ideological rather than fact-based.
Yes, Connell says that Columbus was responsible for the enslavement of hundreds of people in Hispaniola, what is now Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Natives had no immunity to the smallpox and measles that his crew unwittingly carried. Their population was decimated by as much as 50 to 90%. But revisionists tell only half the story. The indigenous people returned that unfortunate favor, infecting their European counterparts with an especially virulent form of syphilis. Europeans were often, the Native Americans were often portrayed as pastoral peoples. The Aztecs, though, were just as oppressive as the Spanish conquistadors who brutalized them, engaging in themselves imperialism, colonialism, slavery, cannibalism, human sacrifice on an epic scale. For better or worse, Columbus was an epic figure in human history.
That debate
He
continues.
also brought back to Europe something you may not be aware of, which is potatoes. So ultimately, centuries later, Columbus may have been responsible for the potato famine, which led to a new migration to the United States.
So much to look at today. Thank you, Doug McElway. There in Washington. Thanks. Sandra.
Tensions spiking in Spain amid the country's worst political crisis in decades. A live update next.
Harry's meeting clients from far away, but they only see his wrinkles. If only Harry used some bounce to dry, he would be a less wrinkly winning guy.
Look, you can refinance and pull cash out of your house with absolutely no closing costs. Why are you paying high interest rates for a car loan, credit card, or anything else you can think of? Your house is your bank. Make the cash call at 855-890-CASH.
I want to make cars fly. I love turning old stuff into something amazing. I want to plant a garden for the whole world.
We grow up, but we never stop dreaming. Here at Coke, we challenge ourselves and the status quo to produce innovations like renewable fuel, more energy-efficient vehicles, and food for all. Because what drives us most is challenge itself.
Ouch! 80% of us suffer from low back pain. Finally, there's a fast, easy, and effective way to help relieve low back pain in just minutes a day. Introducing Low Back Tracks. So effective, it's FDA cleared for relief of spinal degenerative joint disease, herniated discs, muscle spasms, spinal stenosis, low back pain, and even sciatica.
Hi, I'm Lori Grenier. I'm an inventor and entrepreneur, but many of you may know me as a shark on Shark Tank. I found Low Back Tracks because I had a loved one in pain, and I was so happy it really helped them. That's why I had to bring it to all of you, so now you can take your pain relief into your own hands.
It's so easy. Just lay on your back, bend your knees, and push. You'll be amazed at the relief. The secret is dual traction force, pushing your lower body and upper body away from each other, which results in traction, taking pressure off the spinal joints, discs, and nerves, providing life-changing pain relief.
My lower back, it hurts so much I can hardly get out of bed. After I started using the Low Back Tracks, now I'm back to my gardening, which I love.
You know, as a contractor, my body is my job, and I can't afford back pain. Low Back Tracks is the only thing that helped relieve my pain. I can't believe how fast it made me feel better.
I suffered with back pain for years. That's why I developed Low Back Tracks. And with daily use, I'm virtually pain-free.
Low Back Tracks is FDA cleared for all of these causes of back pain. Pills can be dangerous. Doctor's visits are time-consuming and expensive. Get Low Back Tracks plus the instructional and stretch DVD for only $39.99 and absolutely free shipping. Hold everything. Call right now and you can get a second set. Just pay a separate fee. Plus, your shipping is absolutely free.
Low Back Tracks brought relief to many people I know, and I hope it brings relief to you too.
Call 1-800-788-1694.
It wasn't a boring Monday, was it?
What a Monday. So it begins.
So it began yet again.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I hope you guys had a great weekend. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
We start with a Fox News alert. President Trump ready to strike a deal to protect hundreds of thousands of so-called dreamers, young people brought here illegally by their parents. But not unless Democrats go along with the president's wish list on immigration reform, and that includes a wall. Good morning to you. I'm John Scott.
Another busy day. I'm Melissa Francis. President Trump looking to that deal to sweeping immigration reform, sending Congress a 70-point plan, which includes the wall, as John mentioned, and thousands of additional ICE agents. Kellyanne Conway detailing some of that earlier on Fox and Friends.
Deals with DACA, which of course is on the minds of many Democrats and some Republicans, but it also deals with the president's first priorities, which is to keep us all safe and secure. It would have 300 new immigration judges, 1,000 ICE agents, because one of the major challenges we still have is what to do with folks who are trying to cross the border illegally.
Kristen Fisher is live at the White House with the details. Kristen, what do we know so far?
Well, Melissa, these demands are very different from the list of demands that Chuck and Nancy thought that they had agreed to when they had dinner here at the White House a few weeks ago. As one White House official put it last night, that was simply a deal to work out a deal, and that deal is now in serious jeopardy after the list of non-negotiables that President Trump sent to Congress last night. He wants Congress to pass a bill that would fund and complete construction of his border wall. A bill that would stop sanctuary cities by denying federal funding, hire 10,000 additional ICE agents and 600 prosecutors, end asylum abuse and chain migration, and establish a point-based system for green cards. The president says, quote, these findings outline reforms that must be included as part of any legislation addressing the status of DACA. So President Trump is now explicitly tying the fate of the Dreamers bill to several hardline immigration policies, and the top two Democrats say that is the exact opposite of what they believe that they had agreed to when they sat down over Chinese food with President Trump here at the White House a few weeks ago. So they put out a joint statement last night that reads in part, quote, we told the president at our meeting that we were open to reasonable border security measures alongside the DREAM Act, but this list goes far beyond what is reasonable. This proposal fails to represent any attempt at compromise. So this is bad news for the Dreamers, bad news for the roughly 700,000 young people who are now facing possible deportation, but very good news for President Trump's base and his supporters who were starting to get a little concerned that the president might be backing away from one of his signature campaign promises. Now, Melissa, it is very clear, building the wall and completely building the wall and securing funding for it from Congress, now a top priority once again for this administration.
Although with all those points, that's a lot of room for negotiation, so it'll definitely be an interesting one to watch. Kristen, thank you.
Thank you.
So Kellyanne Conway making it clear President Trump is willing to protect those dreamers while also making major changes to immigration law at the same time.
The message to the Dreamers is that listen to what the president says. He says he's open to a deal, open to figuring out a way to have a broader immigration policy that certainly addresses DACA, the so-called Dreamer program, but along with all these other critical functions.
Let's bring in Joe Trippi, former campaign manager for Howard Dean and a Fox News contributor. Also Brad Blakeman, former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. Good morning to both of you on this Monday. So, Joe, there is a carrot and stick approach here for the Congress. What do you think of it?
Well, I think on a number of those things, like the border wall, it's not clear that the president will have Republican votes, enough Republican votes in the Senate to pass some of the things that are of his demands. It's much more likely that a compromise will happen in Congress between the Republicans and the Democrats and send a bill to the president's desk that isn't likely to have all these demands in it. He'll have to decide whether he signs whatever the outcome is or veto it. But I think that's much more likely than this proposal passing and even having enough Republican support to pass it.
There are some tough methods in here, Joe. The president wants to build the wall, obviously, wants to crack down on illegal people, people who overstay their visas illegally. Lots of crackdowns in exchange for perhaps some action on the so-called dreamers. Will Congress go for it?
Again, I don't think. I think the wall is a non-starter for all the Democrats and probably some of the Republicans. Again, a lot of it on the Republican side because of the costs and because there are better ways to do it. And so you just start there, and you already have this situation where the president needs almost every Republican senator he has. He's picked another fight with another one of them, Senator Corker. So how to put all those enough votes together with these demands, I think, is going to be a real problem. I'm not saying there won't be progress, that there won't be some kind of passage in the House and the Senate that arrives on the president's desk, but I think it's highly unlikely that there's going to be enough support for something with these kind of demands and hardline stances.
But Brad, this is one of the signature issues that got him elected to the Oval Office.
It is, but it's not only a signature issue of the president. This is a signature issue of everybody who ran in 2016. This is a signature issue of the Congress. And it's going to be a test of our majorities, another test. But let me say this. Democrats have been in favor of the wall before they were against it. There is no doubt that we have a porous southern border as well as a northern border that needs attention, which this plan does. We have an interior immigration system that's broken. We don't know the people who have come here, who are staying here illegally. We don't have a handle on visas like we should. We don't have a merit-based immigration policy that makes sense, letting extended families in. We should be having people come to America that we need and that we want. We should know the people that are here and their intentions. We should have secure borders. All of this, that the 70-point plan that the president has suggested, is a negotiation. It's a start of comprehensive immigration reform. We need it, and I think if Democrats act in good faith, we'll be able to get a bill I think that everybody can live with.
Do Democrats want secure borders, Joe?
I think everybody wants secure borders. The question, and I agree with Brad, look, that there's going to be, that this is the starting of the negotiation. I think it's typical of the Trump administration, of the president himself, to put, the hard line, this is, demands out there, knowing that it's going to move away from that and be able to claim success at the end. And hopefully there will be a plan that comes together in the House and the Senate that he can live with, because that's in the end the right question. I think there are people of good faith on both sides in the Senate and the House that can come to agreement about a number of these issues that Brad just outlined. The question is, if the wall's not in there, just let's take that one. If the funding's not in there for that, does the president veto the bill because he doesn't get the one, the one critical thing that he promised through the campaign, or does he sign it and fight for the wall in another way? I don't know the answer to that. I think that's the big question.
All right, Brad, as you well know, Ronald Reagan signed a law that was supposed to end illegal immigration once and for all. Nothing has really changed in that arena. This president seems to be taking a different approach in the same way he is with North Korea, for instance.
There's no doubt. And look, Democrats and Republicans should be united on this. We have a system that is completely broken. We all agree on that. So the question is, how do we fix it? Now, when you talk about a wall, we're not talking about the wall as the only option, a fixed wall. We're talking about using technology and using other methods of natural borders to secure specifically the southern border. But this bill also contains actions to be taken on the northern border. So let's admit, and Joe, I think, will agree with me, the system is completely broken. Both border security, internal security, and visa security, as well as people who want to come here and work and live. So if it's broken, let's fix it. That's exactly why the American people elect our representatives, to get things done.
But trying to fix it is bringing all kinds of protests. We're going to have to leave it there. Brad, Joe, thank you both. We'll have you back again soon.
Good to be with you.
FBI agents again searching the home of the Las Vegas shooter, looking for clues to his motive. A week and a day after Stephen Paddock gunned down 58 innocent people from his high-rise hotel suite. Will Carr is live in Las Vegas. Will, what's the latest?
Melissa, this morning we're getting a chilling account of the moments that played out right after the final gunshot stopped firing. A small group of officers raced up to the 32nd floor of Mandalay Bay, and once they made it inside of Stephen Paddock's room, they say they found power tools, a note with calculations that showed how he could maximize his shooting accuracy, and guns everywhere.
So many guns, so many magazines. Stacks and stacks of magazines everywhere, just in suitcases, all neatly stacked against pillars that were in the room, all stacked up, rifles placed all throughout, all kinds of monitors and electrical equipment he had in there. It just looked like almost a gun store.
Paddock, who described himself as a quiet gambler who stayed up all night and slept during the day, set up surveillance cameras outside of his room. The responding officers now say they actually thought those were booby traps because they had wires hanging out. While the investigation continues, so do the touching memorials. Every hotel on the Strip dimmed its lights last night for 11 minutes at the exact time of the shooting last Sunday night. And listen to the state's lieutenant governor describe the outpouring of support.
Las Vegas is accustomed to taking care of all the visitors who come here and taking care of the world who comes here. And this week, the world has taken care of us and has comforted us and blessed us. I just say thank you again on behalf of a grateful city, a grateful state, and God bless you all.
And as an example of that, just a couple minutes ago, I saw a man drive up. He got out of his car. He pulled out a Bible and started praying for about 10 or 15 minutes. Just one example of the thousands we've seen in the past couple of days of so many people coming to pay their respects. Melissa.
Will Carr, thank you for that report.
Well, Vice President Mike Pence reignites the debate over protests during the national anthem ahead of NFL games. Pence and his wife walked out of a game after several players took a knee. Genuine protest or publicity stunt? Our media panel weighs in. And hundreds fleeing their homes in the face of a raging wildfire in California wine country. Why the fire chief calls this an unprecedented disaster.
Our priority right now is to get people out of harm's way, heed the evacuation warnings, and get out.
I got an offer for my house online, but they kept changing it. So I called Homevestors, the We Buy Ugly Houses people. John made me a cash offer I could trust and closed on my timeline.
Visit WeBuyUglyHouses.com or call 800-44-BUYER.
1 year ago today, Mom started searching for her words, and my brother Ray and I started searching for answers.
When it's time to navigate in-home care, follow that Bright Star. Because Bright Star Care earns the same accreditation as the best hospitals. And Bright Star Care means an RN will customize a plan that evolves with Mom's changing needs.
Because Dad made us promise we'd keep Mom at home.
Call 844-4BRIGHT-STAR for your free home care planning guide.
This is where life expresses itself as an endless flow of energy. Are you ready? Atlantis, Bahamas at heart.
Book by October 15th for the best fall rates at 1-800-ATLANTIS or AtlantisBahamas.com.
How much do you really know about identity theft? $16 billion were stolen from identity fraud victims in 2016 alone. What would you do if this happened to you?
My savings account and my checking accounts were both drained. All of my money was gone.
Millions of smart people protect their identity with LifeLock because today's technology makes identity theft easier and easier. If you use a smartphone, shop online, use public Wi-Fi, or fill out forms or applications, you're at risk.
I could not believe that somebody would steal my tax refund. It made me angry.
LifeLock members have identity theft protection in place before a problem occurs. If you just monitor your credit, you can miss certain identity theft threats. LifeLock sees more, like if your personal information is sold on the dark web. If we detect a potential threat to your identity, you'll get an alert. If there's a problem, a U.S.-based restoration agent will work to fix it.
They know everything that there's no way I could know. I turn it over to LifeLock and they'll help me.
There's a new victim of identity fraud every 2 seconds. 1 in 4 people have already experienced it. But LifeLock members are covered by LifeLock's $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement of stolen funds and personal expenses up to the limits of your plan, and lawyers and experts if that's what it takes.
I was covered through my membership, and I received a check for approximately $1,200.
Join today for as low as $9.99 per month and get 60 days risk-free with promo code TVOFFER. LifeLock members get identity threat detection and alerts, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration agent assigned to your case, and you'll be covered by LifeLock's $1 Million Protection Package. Start your membership today. Enroll in minutes.
Having LifeLock, we didn't feel like victims anymore.
LifeLock. Call 1-800-360-0470 or visit joinlifelock.com. Use promo code TVOFFER to get your 60 days risk-free and a free shredder with annual membership. Call right now.
Right now, out-of-control wildfires raging in California wine country, destroying homes and sending people running for safety. Firefighters working hard to tame the flames, scorching hundreds of acres in the Bay Area. Mandatory evacuations are in place for most of Napa and Sonoma counties. Look at those flames. Schools are closed today, and evacuation centers are being set up to shelter those ordered to leave.
Vice President Mike Pence walks out of an NFL game yesterday as the vice president and his wife stood for the national anthem at yesterday's Colts 49ers game. Several 49ers players took a knee. Pence left right after that and defended the walkout in a series of tweets saying, quote, "I left today's Colts game because POTUS and I will not dignify any event that disrespects our soldiers, our flag, or our national anthem. At a time when so many Americans are inspiring our nation with their courage, resolve, and resilience, now more than ever, we should rally around our flag and everything that unites us." Let's bring in today's media panel. Joe Concha is a media reporter for The Hill. Judy Miller is a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter and author, also a Fox News contributor. Thanks, both of you, for being here. Judy, to you first. You're a little suspicious, I guess, of the vice president's motives here.
Yes, I am. And I am because the press pool, those who accompanied the vice president out to Indianapolis for this game, was never even taken into the stadium. So they knew, the press knew, everyone knew that the vice president's appearance was going to be very brief there. Didn't even have time to buy a hot dog. Just wanted to make a political point at the taxpayers' expense, because this trip, according to all the reporting of what these flights cost, was $250,000 round-trip airfare on the Air Force Two. That doesn't even count all of the